Bruce Lee was ignored by a Muay Thai legend and said watch this, 3 seconds later stunned the gym. Bruce Lee was ignored by a Muay Thai legend and said watch this, 3 seconds later stunned the gym. The Siam Warriors' gym smelled of sweat, liniment and challenge. In the center of the ring, legendary Muay Thai master Kru Somchai, the Iron Fist, adjusted the straps on his gloves as he watched his students train with a superior smile. He was a living legend, undefeated champion, known for breaking ribs with roundhouse kicks and knocking out opponents with a single elbow strike. His reputation attracted fighters from all over the world, but few dared to face him. It was then that Bruce Lee entered. Dressed in his iconic black gi, he walked with the confidence of a man who had already mastered the impossible. His presence was discreet, but it carried an electric energy, as if every muscle in his body was ready to explode. Kru Somchai barely looked up when Bruce approached. "Are you new here?" asked the master, without hiding his disdain. "If you're here to train, start with beginners. I don't have time for amateurs." Bruce wasn't offended. He just smiled, crossed his arms and said, in a calm tone, "I didn't come to train. I came to show something." Kru Somchai snorted, crossing his arms as well. "Show what? You don't even know how to hold a fighting position. Muay Thai isn't movie kung fu." The surrounding students stopped to watch. Some laughed. Others exchanged curious glances. Bruce was unfazed. 3 seconds, he said. "Give me 3 seconds, and you'll understand." The Muay Thai master rolled his eyes but raised his gloves in defiance. "Okay. 3 seconds. But if you don't do anything, you'll be cleaning the gym for a week." Bruce nodded. Then, without warning, it moved. There was no preparation. No war cries. Just a split second where his body became a blur. Kru Somchai barely had time to react when he felt a sharp impact on his chest, not a punch, not a kick, but something different. Something he had never felt before. His feet left the floor. For an instant, the world spun. When his eyes focused again, he was lying on his back, the air expelled from his lungs in a painful gasp. The entire gym was silent. Bruce was standing next to him, his hands still in the Jeet Kune Do position, a technique that combines speed, precision, and economy of movement. There was no brute force. There was no exhibitionism. Just pure efficiency. "That," Kru Somchai coughed, trying to get up, "that's not Muay Thai." "No," Bruce agreed. "That's what comes next." The master propped himself up on his elbows, looking at Bruce with a mixture of shock and respect. He had been defeated in seconds, with no chance of defense. Not by a crushing blow, but by something smarter. "Who the hell are you?" asked Kru Somchai, finally recognizing that he was facing something extraordinary. Bruce reached out his hand to help him up. "Someone who respects their art. But who also knows that no art is perfect." The master accepted the hand, still stunned. The surrounding students murmured, some in disbelief, others fascinated. Kru Somchai wiped the sweat from his brow and, for the first time in years, laughed. "You beat me. But I want to learn this." Bruce smiled. "Then let's train." And so, without another word, the two positioned themselves in the center of the ring, not as opponents, but as each other's students. Kru Somchai taught Bruce the strength of Thai kicks, the resistance of clinches, the brutality of elbows. Bruce, in turn, showed his master how speed and adaptation could overcome brute strength. Years later, when Bruce Lee was already a global legend and Kru Somchai had become one of the first Muay Thai masters to incorporate Jeet Kune Do techniques into his style, the two met again at a tournament in Bangkok. "Do you still remember that day?" asked Kru Somchai, now with gray hair, but the same fire in his eyes. Bruce laughed. "How could I forget? You made me clean the gym for a week." I lied. "I didn't make you clean anything." "I know. But it was worth it." They hugged each other like old friends. Not as rivals, but as two men who had understood, in that ring years ago, that true martial art has no limits. End. The reunion and the legacy. The tournament in Bangkok was one of the biggest of the year, bringing together fighters from all over the world. Kru Somchai, now a respected name on the circuit, had invited Bruce Lee not only as a spectator but as one of the honorary judges. The crowd was thrilled with the presence of the legendary creator of Jeet Kune Do, and many young fighters dreamed of being noticed by him. After the hug between the two masters, Kru Somchai led Bruce to a more private corner of the gym, where a young Thai man of around 20 years old was training alone, repeating blows with almost mechanical precision. "This is Niren," said Somchai, proudly. "My best student. And also the most stubborn." Bruce watched the boy with interest. Niren had the same intensity he had seen in Somchai decades before, but there was something different, a rigidity, as if he were trapped in a soulless technique. "He fights like he's at war," Bruce commented. "He's an orphan. He grew up on the streets of Bangkok. Muay Thai was the only thing that saved him from gang violence. But now..." Somchai sighed. "He doesn't understand that the fight isn't just about winning. It's about flow." Bruce nodded. "Sometimes the biggest battle is within ourselves." The challenge. That night after the tournament, Niren approached Bruce in the hotel lobby. His face was tense, his fists clenched. "They say you're the best. I want to fight you." Bruce raised an eyebrow. "Why?" "Because you beat my master once. I want to know if you're as good as they say." Kru Somchai, who was nearby, tried to intervene, but Bruce stopped him with a gesture. "Okay. But not here. Tomorrow, at the gym. Just the three of us." Niren agreed, but there was a gleam of defiance in his eyes. The fight. The gym was empty except for the three. Niren took off his shirt, revealing old scars on his arms and ribs. Bruce smiled, taking off his own jacket. No rules. No judges. Just the truth. Niren attacked first, a quick roundhouse kick, followed by a series of punches. Bruce dodged with economical movements, counterattacking with precision, a punch to the solar plexus, a low kick that made Niren flinch. The young fighter staggered but recovered, launching himself again with fury. For several minutes, the fight was even. Niren was strong, fast, relentless. But Bruce didn't fight him, he fought with him. With each blow Niren delivered, Bruce responded not with force, but with adaptation, like water finding the easiest path. Then, in a moment of carelessness, Niren left an opening. Bruce didn't land a decisive blow. Instead, he stopped a few centimeters from the boy's face and said, "You fight as if you were angry at the world. But anger blinds. And blindness is a fighter's greatest weakness." Niren took a deep breath, his eyes burning. "You don't know anything about me." "I know you're scared," said Bruce, lowering his hands. "Fear of not being good enough. Fear that if you stop fighting, there will be nothing left. But true strength isn't in destroying. It's in knowing when to retreat. When to flow." Niren hesitated. For a moment, it looked like he would attack again. But then, something in his expression broke. He dropped his fists, breathing heavily. "How do you do that?" he asked, his voice hoarse. "How do you fight without hate?" Bruce smiled. "Because I learned that the fight is not against others. It is against one's own limits." The legacy. Weeks later, Bruce Lee left Bangkok, but not before leaving a gift for Niren, a notebook with notes on Jeet Kune Do, adaptive techniques and martial philosophy. Kru Somchai, moved, placed a hand on the young man's shoulder. "Now do you understand?" Niren looked at the notebook, then at the master. "I still have a lot to learn." "We all do," said Somchai. "But the first step is to stop fighting yourself." Years later, Niren would become one of the biggest names in modern Muay Thai, fusing Thai tradition with the principles of Jeet Kune Do. In interviews, he always mentioned that day in the gym when a man he barely knew taught him more about fighting than years of training. And somewhere, Bruce Lee smiled, knowing that true combat never ends, it only transforms. End. The middle way. The years that followed were one of fire and blood. Niren returned to the fight circuit with a new philosophy, no longer the rigidity of traditional Muay Thai, but a fluid dance between precise strikes and adaptable defenses. His style, once predictable, has become an unpredictable shadow. Opponents fell before they even understood what hit them. In Bangkok, at the legendary Rajadamnern Stadium, he won the middleweight championship belt with a second-round knockout victory, something that hadn't happened in that division for a decade. But success brought shadows. An old rival, Cry the Hammer Srijawan, challenged him to a rematch fight. Cry, a brutal fighter who dominated the clinch with inhuman strength, had lost to Niren years earlier in a controversial decision. Now, older and more bitter, he didn't just want to win, he wanted to humiliate. It was spread on the networks that Niren was a traitor, a westernized who had abandoned the soul of Muay Thai. Fans were divided. Some called Niren a genius, others, as a heretic. The night of the fight arrived under a tropical storm. The gym was packed, the air thick with the smell of sweat and menthol oil. When Niren entered the ring, he was greeted with boos and cheers in equal measure. Cry, already in the opposite corner, spat on the ground when he saw him. The first round was a war of attrition. Cry charged like a bull, trying to drive Niren to the ropes where he could apply his crushing clinch. But Niren moved like water, dodging, counterattacking with short elbows and knees, techniques that weren't pure to the purists, but they worked. In the second round, Cry managed to grab him, and the crowd exploded when he started throwing brutal knees to Niren's ribs. The referee did not intervene. It was like that in Muay Thai, until a fighter fell, the fight continued. Niren tasted blood. But instead of resisting, he gave in, using Cry's own momentum against him. With a subtle movement of his hips, he unbalanced his rival and took him down with a sweep. Cry fell onto his back, stunned. The audience fell silent. Niren could have ended there, but something stopped him. Instead of delivering the final blow, he extended his hand. Cry, confused, looked at him. Then, with a growl, he spat out blood and stood up on his own. The third round was different. Cry, furious, attacked with everything, but Niren was no longer fighting against him, he was fighting with him. Every blow Cry threw was absorbed, redirected, turned into an opening. In the final minute, Niren applied a perfect sequence, a roundhouse kick to the liver, followed by a direct punch that hit Cry's chin. The fighter collapsed, unconscious. The gym exploded. Some applauded, others cursed. But when Niren helped Cry to his feet, something changed. The rival, still dazed, looked at him and, for the first time, there was no hatred in his eyes. Just a silent question. In the locker room, Niren found a letter left under the door. It was from Kru Somchai. You won. But the real fight was never against Cry. It was against what he stood for, the fear of change. Now, you are the master. And masters are not afraid to teach. The legacy. Niren never fought professionally again. Instead, he opened an academy in Chiang Mai, a simple place without spotlights, where he taught not just techniques but philosophy. His students came from everywhere, Thais, foreigners, even former opponents who were looking for something other than victory. One day, a young American appeared at the door. He was thin, with restless eyes and a scar above his eyebrow. I heard you trained with Kru Somchai, said the boy. And who uses Jeet Kune Do in Muay Thai? Niren smiled. Who told you that? Everyone. My name is Dan. Dan Inosanto. Niren recognized the name. Inosanto was a disciple of Bruce Lee, one of the few who had received direct training from the master. He invited the American in. In the following months, Dan and Niren exchanged knowledge. Dan learned the fluidity of Muay Thai, Niren, the nuances of close-range combat that Lee had developed. Together, they created something new, a hybrid system that respected its roots, but was not afraid to evolve. Years later, when Niren was already a gray-haired old master, he received an unexpected visitor. It was Krai Srizhawan, now the coach of a new generation of fighters. He entered the gym with a promising young man at his side. "This is my student, Pachai," said Krai. "He wants to learn from you." Niren looked at the boy, then at Krai. "Why?" Krai hesitated. "Because I saw what you did that night. It wasn't just a fight. It was a lesson." Niren nodded and opened an old notebook with yellowed pages. It was the same one that Kru Somchai had given him years before. "Then let's begin," he said. "But remember, the first rule is to stop fighting yourself." And so, the cycle continued.